Hi, I'm Ben Charlin and I'm Don Papa Rum's man on the ground here in Sugarlandia. Sugarlandia isn't always what it seems. Sometimes it's much, much more. From majestic volcano peaks to flourishing coral reefs, this island is exploding with biodiversity. A visit to Sugarlandia might as well be a visit to the planet in the movie Avatar. But with great biodiversity comes great responsibility. Unfortunately, the natural world here has suffered with the continuous onslaught of human expansion and development. Fortunately, there are organizations and individuals here fighting passionately on the side of the natural world. In this episode, we'll explore some of these organizations and the individuals behind them. In this episode, we'll explore some of the most effective advocacies of Sugarlandia. Our first stop, Danhugin Island. This marine and wildlife sanctuary is owned and operated by the Philippine Reef and Rainforest Conservation Foundation. Started in 1994, this foundation is one of the longest-running NGOs in Negros. Over the span of 16 years, the island has become the crown jewel of conservation here in Sugarlandia. Danhugin is known for its unique and educational summer camp programs, where kids can spend a couple of weeks immersed in nature, learning about environmental conservation and doing fun outdoor activities like hiking, swimming, and snorkeling. There is also an adult summer camp where participants can do similar things, except with the added benefit of drinks during sunset. Ecotourism has become one of the biggest draws for Danhugin Island, and for an affordable price, a group of friends or a family can stay on the island with comfortable room and board, delicious organic meals, and all activities included. Because the reef around the island has been protected for decades, snorkeling and diving in Danhugin is world class. But remember, Danhugin is not a resort. It's a wildlife sanctuary. So a visit here must be done with a naturalist's mentality, not a tourist's one. Along those lines, the best aspect of the island is the opportunity to completely escape the modern world with no cell or internet connection, no noise or light pollution except for the sights and sounds of the natural world. Kyla Ledesma is the founder of the Philippine Reef and Rainforest Conservation Foundation and the visionary behind the Danhugin Island Marine and Wildlife Sanctuary. We were extremely lucky to be on the island at the same time as him in order to talk with him about the history of the foundation and his hopes and dreams for Danhugin Island and the future of conservation culture in Sugarlandia.
This island was beautiful. This spot was a surface interval spot for me and my body. Reefs were intact, shoals of fish. This is probably the only one in the country that it's land purchase for conservation. One of our objectives is also that this becomes a wildlife refuge. In a bit, I would just have to retire. But it won't stop me from coming back to this beautiful island. Come and visit. Enjoy Don Papa Rum, sunset. We have the most beautiful sunset here too.
Dave Albao is the executive director of the Philippine Reef and Rainforest Conservation Foundation. We were able to catch him on one of his long island stays to talk with him about the island, the foundation, and the mission moving forward.
We have a very strong environmental education program. In fact, it's one of the pioneer programs in the country. So since it's a wildlife sanctuary, it is first and foremost a home for wildlife, but we have the beautiful opportunity to visit and learn about ecosystems here. So Danhugin Island is home to more than 70 species of birds, including an individual that's very unique, so the beach thickney. We also have the largest kingfisher in the country, the stark-billed kingfisher. We have a pair of nesting white-bellied sea eagles. Of course, in the marine environment, we do have giant clams, for example, endangered giant clams. Corals, more than 200 species of corals, more than 500 species of fish. But also we have sharks, we have black-tip reef sharks. We have nesting sea turtles. So the island is protected by law under a municipal ordinance that declares the waters around it 500 meters from the shores of Danjugan as a marine protected area, or MPA. I recommend all of us supporting these areas because they are like seed banks. So they're the breeding and spawning grounds of different wildlife species. That's what we protect. We thrive with the support of people who have this, who share the vision with us. Like Juan Papa, it's going to be a living museum. It's going to be one of the last hope spots of ecosystems that are otherwise threatened with development in the mainland. So hopefully in the future, Danjugan remains the same actually. It remains an island that is teeming with wildlife, where people can visit and be inspired by, have fun with, have meaningful connections with each other and with nature.
Biologist Kyla Ledesma Treble calls Danhugin Island her second home. That's because it literally is. Her father founded the PRRCFI, and she has been visiting and exploring the island since she was a small child. It was this immersion that sparked an interest in the natural world and inspired her to become a biologist, and more importantly, a lifelong conservationist, the family trade.
I'm very fortunate to be one of those children who grew up with this background, to learn how to love nature at a very young age. As a little girl, I was already exploring this island, snorkeling alone even at maybe age 8. It always fascinated me. So even though I keep coming back here, it never bores me. So Danjugan has always shown me something new each time. Here we have over 70 species of birds. We have about 10 species of bats.
Now, one of the really cool places to visit here on the island is the Bat Cave. So here we are now at the Bat Cave in Danhugin Island. Let's check it out. Today, we've got a really special guest star. Now here at the Bat Cave, pythons like to hang out on the cliff walls, and they hang over the mouth of the cave and they catch the bats as the bats fly out. And today, we got our very own python.
The forest has grown so much since then because we actually let it go to Mother Nature to do her work. We didn't plant any trees. Those who planted the trees were the birds and the bats. So you can see the natural regeneration over the years. I think I would like people to experience outdoors more, experience Mother Nature more, to be able to go out and learn from her.
So now we're here in the mountain region of DSB, where the Talarak Foundation has about 30 hectares designated as a soft release site for their endangered species. Once the species are successfully rehabilitated in their facility downtown, they're transported here as a sort of training ground to reintroduce them to a more natural environment. If they graduate from this site, then they're transported to an even larger site to further their reintroduction into the wilderness. Fernando Dino Gutierrez is the president of the Talarak Foundation. We caught up with him at the foundation's wildlife preserve and indigenous animal soft release site to talk about the mission, the progress, and the future.
Well, our goals are to establish secure population for the West Visayan endemic species, which most of them are either endangered or critically endangered. We focus with several species, but our main focus is what we call them the West Visayan Big Five, which is the Talarak, which is the Walden's hornbill, the Tarictic hornbill, which is the Visayan hornbill, the Negros bleeding heart pigeon, the Visayan spotted deer, and the Visayan warty pig. So all of them are critically endangered. So initially we started out with XC2, which is captive conservation in 2 different breeding centers. We have one in Bacolod City, which is, we call it Negros Forest Park, and another one in Cabangcalan City. We were able to do pretty well in breeding them, and now we're going into in situ, which is in-site, in-field conservation. So we bring the animals here, so they come in from captivity in a small captive environment. We put them here in a semi-wild environment, so they kind of like relearn how to be wild. In a couple of years, hopefully they'll be ready and we can bring them to the actual reintroduction site where there are natural threats to them. The Talarak is, we call it the rufous-headed hornbill, which is the world's second most endangered hornbill in the world. The goal is, in a couple of years, we will have more safe zones for them. So know your animals. It's not all about the lions with the tigers. We have, even more important animals that we have here in our own island.
Paul Treble Lazares is the vice president of the Talarak Foundation and was gracious enough to walk us through the Negros Park, introduce us to the amazing species being rehabilitated on the premises, and talk further about conservation of plant and animal species in Sugarlandia.
So Paul, can you tell us a little bit more about the Negros Forest Park?
Negros Forest Park is in the heart of Bacolod City, as you know. It's our little paradise of forest and wildlife in the middle of the city. And it's something that we are very proud of. It started to grow into what you see now under Talarak Foundation. We have about 44 species of animals here and about 150 individuals of mammals, birds, reptiles. I think it's a landmark. I think it's a landmark that the city of Bacolod and the province of Negros should be very proud of, that we have this in the heart of the city, and to have this accessible to tourism is a definite plus, man. I mean, it's something that we need to take advantage of. These are the Visayan warty pigs, one of the most endangered pigs in the world. See the little babies there? They're only about 6 days old. And we are doing our best effort to get them ready for the wild. These hornbills are special, as you can see. They are actually out in the wild in some parts of Negros already. That's the goal. That's the goal when we first started this captive breeding program. We can't keep these animals in cages forever. It's been about 30 years now.
Sugarlandia is an island full of magic and beauty. But in order to keep the magic alive, inspired individuals and organizations have had to step in as friends, as allies, and as protectors of the natural world. The Talarak Foundation and Philippine Reef and Rainforest Foundation are 2 of these organizations on the front lines of that battle. And we were lucky enough to learn about them and meet the inspired individuals that drive them. Now more than ever, it's important that all nations and all peoples prioritize the safety and protection of the natural world. Because without it, there's no us. So please, support the local organizations here in Sugarlandia and also the ones in your location near you. I'm Ben Charlin, and I'm Don Papa Rum's man on the ground here in Sugarlandia. And until next time, Sugarlandia out.